Resident Evil 6 has some outstanding production elements, but expensive-looking cutscenes don't make for a good game. As a story, this not very scary third-person shooter hits some high notes thanks to 4 interwoven personal tales. But actually interacting with Resident Evil 6 is a chore. This is a wannabe action film that resents your interference and punishes you by forcing on you one horrible QuickTime event after another. But before we get to the bad, let's look at the good. Resident Evil 6 is made up of 4 campaigns, 3 of which focus on a pair of characters. There's Leon Kennedy and newcomer Helena Harper in the campaign that's most reminiscent of previous Resident Evil games. There's Chris Redfield and Pierce Nivens in a military shooter type chapter. Jake Muller and Sherry Birkin's campaign is mostly about scripted set pieces and lots of running. And then you unlock Ada Wong's story with its stealth elements and puzzle solving. All but Ada's campaign can be played cooperatively with another player, either online or off. Otherwise, your companion is controlled by the generally competent AI. The story doesn't provide a very memorable villain, but the 4 intertwining tales make it easy to get caught up in the mystery. The talented cast makes every line ring true, and many of the cutscenes are great. There are some memorable moments here, including a fall from a rooftop that might have your jaw dropping. But cinematics only get you so far when the gameplay between them is so clumsy, so jumbled, so off the rails, that you wish Capcom had just made a movie and forgotten the game part. The prelude introduces you to the gameplay basics and also serves as a warning of what's to come. Right off the bat, you discover Resident Evil 6's tight focus on QuickTime events, set pieces, and button prompts. There is lots of stick wiggling and button hammering, and some of these events require superhuman jiggling speeds.
This just gets better and better.
In a typical 5-minute stretch, you might watch a cutscene, walk for 5 seconds, trigger another cutscene, open a door, perform a QuickTime event, view another cutscene, shoot some infected freaks, and then do nothing while you wait for your co-op partner to finish some task or another before you can continue.
Roger.
Roger.
The camera follows suit, changing position all the time, regardless of whether it's actually best for the gameplay. And don't forget the unavoidable gotcha deaths, where a vehicle comes barreling through the level, or an avalanche drops snow on you. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, there's not a whole lot you can do to avoid that stuff. You're just gonna have to do it again. Furthermore, there are so many scripted set pieces with limited interactivity that they disrupt the gameplay. You're constantly running towards the camera to escape from something.
Shit! Run! Son of a bitch, he's strong!
Or encountering button prompts when you just want to handle the situation your own way. Resident Evil 6 yanks control from you all the time and forces you to stare at something dramatic, even when you're in the middle of shooting. Smart games have you press a button to look at stuff like that, or just let it happen. Resident Evil 6 isn't a smart game, and it doesn't care if moving the camera messes up what you're doing.
Connection complete.
You do kill some mutated grotesqueries in the middle of all this. The core mechanics are similar to those in other third-person shooters, but with the idiosyncrasies that defined Resident Evils 4 and 5. The camera stays close behind your back and the pace is deliberate. Infected enemies behave in all sorts of cool and disgusting ways, and react properly to getting shot or slammed into. You can also kick and pummel them through the use of more on-screen button prompts. If you find the deliberate action appealing, you can devote some time to the Returning Mercenaries mode, in which you and a buddy off as many enemies as you can before the clock ticks down to 0. There's not much in the way of survival horror here, though there are some nice throwbacks to Resident Evils 4 and 5. But Resident Evil 6 is focused more on action and quick-time events than building tension. As a result, the close camera angle, the knockback loops, and other elements that worked well in the past are more awkward here. That isn't to say the action is all that hard, though. The bosses rarely require any kind of cleverness. And all too often you can just spam melee attacks and win. Nor will you need to worry about running out of ammo all too often on medium difficulty. There's nothing inherently wrong with lots of cutscenes, or quick-time events, or set pieces. There's nothing wrong with taking a series in a new direction either. Resident Evil 6's problem isn't that it has these elements. Its problem is that it throws a bunch of different action game mechanics at the screen and expects them to all work well together. Instead, Resident Evil 6 is sloppy and random. You've never quite seen a mess like this. But what a mess it is, and a disappointing development in a series that has lost its way.